Hey, everybody. It's Friday night, and welcome to the Asea 5, where you have the regulars, me, Dr. Maureen Hayes from Galveston, Texas, joined by Jim and Ann Glenn from San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
Jim is our big money man, and Ann is our beautiful nutritionist and personal trainer. And of course, we have the amazing Dr. Lee Osler from Washington State, author of the groundbreaking book, Redox Matters, and soon to be released, Healthy Matters. So be looking out for that. We'll be doing a whole episode on that soon. So we come here every week to share information and to interview different healthcare professionals so that you can learn a little bit more about these amazing redox signaling molecules that we're all so excited about. Now, there's a lot of healthcare professionals on here, but this is not a medical product. We're not here to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent anything. What these molecules do is it's a bioreplenishment agent that allows your cells, can you see my husband thinking about, allows your cells to do their job more optimally so that you have benefits from that. And we'll let Dr. Lee explain that in a little bit more detail later on in the call. But first, let me introduce our very special guest. We have a whole panel of nurses for you today. And, you know, they're always, as a doctor, I just want to go on record as saying, your nurses are the ones who make you look so good, you know, so I love nurses. They're fantastic. They're compassionate. They're the ones who are really hands-on. And so it's just a pleasure and an honor to have a whole group of them here with us today. So first we have Amy Stacy from Charlottesville, Virginia, and also Nelda Castillo, who I know, and I just blanked on her name, Nelda from Lubbock, Texas, Doria Stewart from Atlanta, Georgia, and another good friend of mine, Suzanne Truax from Sugarland. Well, no, you're from Houston now. Houston,
Yes.
Texas.
Yes.
So
Awesome.
yeah, so we're going to have a lot of fun tonight, hear a lot of opinions. But what I really want to know, ladies, is how you got introduced to this and what you experienced and why you thought it was so important to share this with other people and to join us in this army of redox warriors. So Amy, let's start with you. Start alphabetically. Amy, take it away.
All right. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. I live in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I've been a registered nurse for 37 years. My focus was hospice and palliative care, just a little background there. And in 2011, I was diagnosed with a very serious health challenge. And as fate would have it, the good Dr. David Silverman called me 2 days after that. And I had worked with David in another network marketing company back in the 90s. So I wasn't very nice to him when he called because I thought for sure he was prospecting me. So anyway, long story short, he told me about the science of Asea. I shared with him what was going on with me, and I started taking Asea and haven't stopped since.
Awesome.
Wow, that's fantastic. How long ago was that, Amy?
2011.
2011. Okay. And so then you started sharing. How did that, you had a benefit from it and then you decided to start educating other people about it?
Well, I wasn't interested in the business, and I made that very clear with David in the beginning. But I was desperate because I was scared. And then after I had the good result, after I was cleared by my doctor, I think I signed up 40 people in 30 days.
Awesome.
Did I freeze?
So needless to say, I'm doing the business now.
Love it. It's wonderful.
That's fantastic. Sorry, you guys. I think my internet's going in and out. Well, we are so happy you are, Amy, and we'll get back to that. Let's see if I'm good at alphabet.
Doria.
You guys, I'm sorry,
Doria.
I've got the flow. Doria, why don't you come on next and share with us how you got involved and what you've experienced, how you're sharing.
All right. So I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I have been a nurse for 40 years. And I had a very trusted friend, a dentist, who shared this wonderful, amazing technology with me. I don't really have any health challenges, although I'm 65 years old and I have dealt with just general discomfort over the past 40 years of being a bedside nurse. And that's what type of nursing I was, working in a medical surgical unit. And so I think as a nurse working for 40 years, you're just so used to dealing with the general discomfort every day, with your back hurting, your feet hurting, your legs being sore, they're cramping, you're not getting any rest. You think, okay, well, this is just par for the course as the hazards of being a nurse. And it's something I'm probably just going to have to deal with the rest of my life. So when I started taking the Redox Signaling Molecules, the third night that I was on this technology, I slept for the first time 8 hours through the night. And then shortly after that, I would say probably within a few weeks, my discomfort in my back, left. My feet started feeling better. In fact, I had better coordination and better balance. The discomfort just started, fading away. And so, that's great, because as nurses, when you work that long, you want to live a life of vitality, and and go into your retirement, which I am now, just feeling, full of life. So it did great wonders for me. I also dealt with headaches. I had headaches every day, and I think that was just a stress of the job. And I've not had a headache in 2.5 years. I've also suffered with sinus infections and sinusitis, and just from the allergies, because Atlanta's full of pollen here. And I've not had any problems with that either for 2.5 years.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Dr. Lee, can you go ahead and just throw in another disclaimer real quick, please?
Yes, I think it's important. We represent a company that has a supplement. This is not a drug. It's not a medical agent or an intervention. We don't diagnose. We're not curing. We're not treating anything. What we are doing is affecting cellular health. And if symptoms improve because cells become stronger and better, then so be it. But as you'll hear from many of the stories and the experiences that people have when they improve their cellular health, there's a lot to be said about the ailments that we suffer in life being a consequence of dysfunctions happening at that cellular level.
That's right. Very good.
Oh, Suzanne, what about you? Share a little bit about who you are, please.
Okay. Well, thank you all for inviting me to this event again. I just love it. So I do live in Houston, Texas. I've been a nurse for 39 years and was director of nursing for Methodist Hospital here in Houston for all of Harris County and Fort Bend County, and also ran the oldest home care company in Texas at one time here that was started here in Houston. And did that until like 1996. And then I started my own wellness business with using magnetics and some other technology, along with Maureen Hayes and some of the other wonderful friends that we've had over 27 years. And Maureen and I have known each other almost that long, I think. And so I have been a wellness nurse long before that word was ever thought of. And it was because my husband was paralyzed in a car accident, and I started looking for other modalities. And so when this opportunity came along, my good friend Chris Gullo introduced us to Asea. And soon after that, I had some very extensive oral surgery done. And that was like a 4-hour surgery. And I had just learned about Asea. And so I started using it for repair from that surgery. And the results were amazing. And soon after that, my husband had to have open heart surgery. And that's kind of a long story, but his recovery from that was incredible. He should have come home with a pacemaker, and he didn't. And his repair in the healing from that was just so short. And he's fully recovered from that. And so it's really impossible not to tell people when you know something that can help them, and especially something that brings hope without a risk. And I like to call it evidence-based hope. You often think of hope that it's something that you can't hold on to. But time and time again, we see results. So I really feel like it's evidence-based hope that we're talking about with these molecules.
That's wonderful.
I
Susan,
like that. That is, I'm writing
Yeah.
that down. I hope
Yeah,
you don't
we did.
mind
We
if I
wrote it
steal
down.
I
that.
love that
Yeah.
too.
Thank
And hey, you guys, I'm sorry, I keep freezing, so I'm just going to leave my camera off.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Suzanne, real quick, how much are y'all drinking and what did you start? How much did you drink in the beginning? And how much are y'all drinking now? When you had a health issue or your husband did you drink more during that
Yes.
period?
Yes, but right before his surgery, we found out that his arteries were blocked in a big way. And the cardiologist told us that he really needed to get his affairs in order because he just, you know, even though he was part of a very world famous cardiology team here in Houston, they really were not sure what the outcome was going to be. And so he started drinking a bottle a day, and he did that for the whole month of October. And his surgery was on November the 9th. And when the cardiologist came out, he said his heart was so incredibly strong and that all the arteries were clean and that they did not have to put in a pacemaker. And the other thing that was really amazing is typically a patient goes home on 17 meds after open heart surgery, and Pat came home on only one.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah.
wait a minute again. So earlier he had tests done that showed blockage, right?
Right. For
And
the
then-
big pre-op. You know, they always do, you know, your pre-operative testing about a month ahead of time.
Mm.
And so we knew ahead of time that there was an issue besides the fact that the valve in his heart was not working.
Dr. Lee, can you maybe kind of jump in and explain how something like that might happen?
Yeah, let's go to, if you can, let's go to Nelda. Let's finish the 4 and then we can come
Okay.
back to that and then I'll come back. So Nelda, do you
Okay.
want to take up?
Absolutely. Okay. Also, thank you for having me this evening on this
Mhm.
nurses panel. It's always an honor. I'm Nelda Castillo from Lubbock, Texas. I've been a registered nurse for 27 years, and I actually stumbled across this, our Redox molecules in May of 2018. I actually had a lady I just met, and she was running her business, very functional, met her, went back to thank her a few days later, maybe 2 weeks it was, but she had a sign on her door that basically said, hey, I'll be out a couple of weeks. So I called her because she didn't put a date on that note. And I said, hey, Lynn, is this a good time? She said, yes, I just had a knee joint replacement. And I thought, you know, in my mind, I thought, you didn't even look like you know, that she needed any had any health issues or needed a joint replacement. So, and she said, but I'm being discharged today with excruciating pain. And, you know, there's nothing else they can do for me. So I had a few days off on my schedule that week. So I helped her out, went to visit her, and she said, you know, my body's completely shut down. I mean, she couldn't even get up and walk and ambulate to the bathroom anymore. And she had a husband to take care of. So her body had completely shut down when she had her knee replacement. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to refer you to someone that I know. Go see him and see what he says. If he can't help you, he'll refer you out. So she went to see that physician. And then that day that she had her appointment, I called her that afternoon. I was really concerned about her because she said, my sister is threatening to shut my business down. So that afternoon, I called her and I said, Lynn, what did the doctor say? And she said, he told me that my inflammatory markers were very elevated. And having the knee replacement, then that was more inflammation on top of inflammation because she had a history of inflammation for years. So I said, what did he say? And she said, he told me to start taking something in a blue bottle. So I helped her get it. And then I thought, you know what? I want to be on that because as a nurse, I see so many people that have inflammation. And so that opens the door to a lot of diseases. So I thought, hey, I want to do that for preventive measures. So she started taking it and I started taking it. And then I saw her progress. She started, from non-ambulatory, not being able to function on a daily basis. She was even able to take care of her home, take care of her husband, get back to cooking, activities of daily living. So she did that. And then in my case, I just started taking it and I really just wanted energy and endurance because I was working 84 hours a week as a nurse at that time. So I began to take it And then I began to see energy, endurance, mental focus, and then more flexibility. I had discomfort all over my body. I mean, you could just touch me and it was very uncomfortable. That went away. And then better sleep, improved vision. I mean, just everything was just so much better, more vitality. I mean, it was really awesome. So that's really how I stumbled across it. The blue bottle, helped my friend get rebalanced and back to functioning. And to me, it's just been a game changer in my health because I've seen so many people, they suffer and they take so many medications on a daily basis. They're so toxic to the body. So to me, to have something in our hands that is non-toxic and native to the body is a game changer. And that's what it's done for me and my family.
How much were you drinking back in the beginning? I'm sorry.
No, I was
How
going to
much were
ask
you
the
drinking?
question.
Okay.
Okay. Are you asking me that, Jim?
Yes.
I only began on 2 ounces in the morning and 2 at night. And so, I did see results. I started getting energy and then endurance, and I wanted that. And I'm thinking about, I'm going to say 6 weeks down the road, I was driving to a patient's home. And then I just thought, oh my goodness. I mean, the blues were beautiful, the greens, all the colors of the universe just came to life. And so I did not realize I was in a fog. And I think that a lot of us are in a fog and we don't realize it. And I was. And so it just kind of brought earth back to me. And it was just so beautiful. But that mental fog can take a hold of us and it's in us. And we have no idea until you start taking these molecules and they start, just connecting your dots. They start, opening up the cellular communication. And that's what happened. And that's what amazed me. Every day that I took it, I was consistent. Get up in the morning, I would take 2 ounces. In the evening, before my head hits the pillow, I take 2 ounces. And honestly, from that point, I just started taking more and it just got better and better. And so you're going to find that sweet number. So you always start.
Exactly.
My friend started on a little because she had a lot of inflammation. So she had to start on a smaller dose, maybe 1 ounce in the morning, 1 at night. And then every 2 days she would increase it. So when I saw her doing that and saw the difference, I thought, you know what, I've got to tell people about it. And that's how I stumbled across it. And that's why I think it's so important to have these molecules in our home, in our hand, and in our bodies.
How much are you all drinking now, Nelda, and then the rest?
I'm taking 8 ounces a day. I take 4 ounces in the morning, and then I take 4 ounces right before my head hits the pillow. If I'm having a long day or maybe, I have a lot more going on, I never hesitate to take more. I take anywhere from maybe 2 to 4 ounces extra. It just depends on what I want, but I know I can't take too much. And so, it's non-toxic, native to the body. There's no overdosing because the only way you could overdose is if you were in a bathtub of redox molecules. That's the only way. So I take 8 ounces.
Amy, how much are you drinking a day now?
I drink 6 ounces twice a day. So
Okay.
I drink 12 ounces a day.
Is that what you started with? And now you're at that amount?
No, when I started at the typical 2 ounces twice a day. But I did work my way up because I wanted to get rid of what was in my body. And I was drinking, I think, about 16 ounces a day when I was really sick. So.
Great.
Doria?
Yes, so I started out 2 ounces twice a day, but then I realized that when you're over the age of 40, it's best to increase it to 4 ounces twice a day. So I take anywhere between 10 and 12 ounces. I do 4 ounces in the morning, 4 ounces before I go to bed. And then I always take my pouch because, that molecules comes in that nice handy little pouch. So I take that with me when I work out. And then also if I'm working, it just gives me a little bit extra boost or energizes me for the day.
Yeah.
Awesome. Suzanne?
Suzanne?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing, but I've been drinking 12 ounces a day because right now I'm working at the rodeo and I'm around a whole lot of people. So
Yeah.
I take the pouch with me. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I was gonna ask what your fun job is at the rodeo. I've been to a lot of rodeos in my day.
I'm on the ticket committee and I'm also on the Go Texan committee. So it's more of a hospitality kind of thing. Yeah.
Great.
Well, I was
That's
going to say
fine.
something silly like I won't say it, but anyway.
You're the greeter. So we'll
Yes.
get back to Lee talking about the
Yeah.
heart. I know heart elasticity, of course, is something we know
But
it does. But go ahead and address what was going to be mentioned by you.
with what Suzanne said, I mean, you have something that shows up a month earlier, right, Suzanne? And then you drink. And we've had other people do the bottle a day, and then they go in for whatever they're going to go in and wow, things are different. How could that be, Lee?
Well, I'm just sitting here looking at this screen with these four wonderful women, and I didn't do the math, but there's probably about collectively 140 years of nursing experience sitting in front of us.
Yeah.
And I'm just awed by that, you know. And the other thought is, Doria made the comment, and so did Nelda, that we kind of don't know what we don't know in regards to, we think everything's normal in what we're experiencing, because that's our normal. And it isn't until things change that you realize that it might have been your normal, but it's not ideal. And that kind of goes back to, you know, what we said earlier, even in the disclaimer part. But as you hear these stories about, you know, health deficits, I like to think of them really as a redox deficit, because redox signaling is the essence of cellular health. That platform, we now call it, it's a big science, you know, concept, but it's called the redoxome. Just like there's a genome, well, this is the redoxome. This is what undergirds, this is the foundation, the basis for all cellular function. And so when we hear about these issues related to, you know, that we've talked about, the buildup of deposits in vessel walls, you know, we know that there's cells that begin multiplying too quickly. We know we have, you know, sores and skin conditions. I mean, we could go on and name probably 100 things. And if you trace them all back and said, you know, oh, what's the reason for those problems? There is at its foundation a lack of cellular function. There's a level of oxidation that's too high. And one of the magic, I call it magic things that we have with Asea, is it is obeying a cellular law called hormesis. And that's something that we're going to learn a lot more of as some new materials come forth. But hormesis is the principle that says a mild oxidative stimulus activates healing or reparative processes in the cell that sets things right. And so now with proper cellular function, we can undo the damage, we can renew, you know, the problems that are occurring at those cellular levels. And that is kind of a prototypical way of describing things that Suzanne was talking about with her husband. The FDA allows us to make, you know, at least 5 specific claims. And one of them has to do with the arterial health of our blood vessels. Well, if we could dig down about 20 more levels, we could use a lot more words, you know, that would describe that function. But there's a reason why that happens, and it's because of this redox signaling that we don't do so much of anymore as we age. As we get older, we're doing less and less of it. And that's just really a function of aging, and none of us will escape that entirely. But what we want to do is, you know, and the remarkable story that she had about how he was, he didn't need to do some of the more normal things that people in those situations have to do, that he avoided that because he ramped up his cellular health, his cellular function, and was able to do himself by activating his own inner doctor, as I like to call it, so that he needed less medical intervention doing other things for him. And those are kind of the magic touch points that redox signaling, you know, brings to us, because we're just going back to optimal cellular performance like we did when we were, you know, going through puberty. You know, when we were kids, we could do all of this much better, but not so much anymore for us. But I salute the 4 of you, man. 140 years of this. It's amazing.
Okay, now I can't see Maureen. Maureen, do you have any questions? I can't tell if she's in La La Land. Oh, she's back.
Well, you know, it was staying stable as long as I kept my camera off. So if I freeze
I
again,
understand.
I'll turn it back on.
Question, comment?
Well, you know what? I wanted to I wanted to ask the ladies, what inspired them? They had fantastic results. Pat, Suzanne's husband, had amazing results. Amy, I hear you have an incredible story. I don't know if you want to go into more depth in that, but I would love to hear a little bit more. And also, you guys, what have you seen? I mean, because you guys have all torn it up. You're out there sharing. And of course, you're sharing from the heart. You care about people. You want them to have a better quality of health, better quality of life. And you're really making an incredible difference. So, if each of you could speak to that. But Amy, if you would start, maybe tell us a little bit more about what was going on. And
yeah, I'll do my best to be compliant. It's so tempting not to be, but so as I mentioned, my field of nursing was hospice and palliative medicine. So I knew what I was facing with the health challenge that was thrown my way, unfortunately. And I remember when I would see patients, I was the on-call coordinator. My responsibility was 500 patients in 13 counties for 15 hours by myself.
Wow.
So when I would leave their house, the patients with this particular issue that I was diagnosed with, I just would quietly say to myself, that's the one thing I don't want to ever get. And here I was facing that. So, obviously my passion runs deep, and that's another reason why I do drink a lot of Asea, just more for prevention, because I don't want that to come back. But another testimonial I have has to do with my thyroid. In 2004, which was way pre-Asea, I had some things going on in my thyroid. And unfortunately, this was 10 months after my father had passed away of a disorder of his thyroid. So that was kind of another freak out moment. And so I had 60% of my thyroid removed. And that was 2004. So fast forward to when I got on Asea and I went to my first convention, I had a nice little chat with Dr. Samuelson. And I just asked him, how would this affect my thyroid? And, could it possibly grow back, And, he gave me his opinion. I want to be compliant. So I just kind of kept that in the back of my head. And then I asked my doctor in 2016, I'd been on Asea for 5 years, if we could do some blood work to see where things were with my thyroid, because I was taking thyroid replacement hormone, and I was actually high norm. So
Awesome.
I was able to stop the medication under doctor supervision, of course.
Yes. Well, that's exciting.
Wow.
And of course, we
Um,
have the study that shows that it improves thyroid signaling. So
Yeah.
that can be some of it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm non-medical. Anne has a lot more with her nutrition background, but I'm an ex-stockbroker. And ladies, how did you handle the fact that it's a dietary supplement made from salt water in Salt Lake City? Because you guys you went to school for a long time. You've had a lot of practice in your area of specialty, but how did you initially confront that? Was it the science that you looked at? Was it a testimonial, or was it just your friend that brought it to you and you trusted them? But you had to do a little bit of digging into this, or did it really just come down to faith that you trusted the person? Doria?
Well, first of all, I would say the person that shared it with me, I trusted him as a friend. And secondly, I didn't second guess it. I just felt like, I didn't get it deep into the science, but I did, look a little at it. I do remember the mitochondria, but I didn't know anything about redox signaling molecules. So that's where I did most of my investigation, is knowing what they were. And I just believe, like you said, faith. I believe this is a breakthrough. I believe it's God sent. And, being a nurse for as long as I have, and, being a bedside nurse, I was used to giving, 10 medications to my patients, 3 times a day. And, when I heard, and like Amy's testimony, I mean, that's what all the testimonies that we hear, this is helping so many people with various health challenges. And I'm looking at my patients and I'm thinking, we're just giving medications to treat symptoms and we're not getting to root causes. And so when I heard the testimonies, I thought, this is just life-changing. I mean, this is really miraculous. And like I said, it's God's sin. And I'm thinking like, these people need to know about this. They deserve to know about this. And so it's really a mission for me. I think Maureen was sharing, why do you share this? And I believe it's a mission. And I've got to share it with everybody that I come across, because people need to live vitality, need to have vitality. And, I'm going to live to be 100. So I'm going to keep drinking this Asea.
Yeah.
So I'm going to reach 100. Yeah. So,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Suzanne,
Great.
how did you handle in the beginning salt water from Salt Lake City and dietary supplement stuff? How did you process that?
Well, of course, the person that brought it to me, I totally trusted him. He a very good businessman and also a researcher himself. So there wasn't, I trusted him. I did think that it was funny that it was salt water from Salt Lake City. I do remember thinking that. But, as a nurse, when you realize it's normal saline, that alone right there is makes it okay. I mean, because that when you go to the hospital, they don't, check to see if you're a diabetic first. Everybody gets normal saline. Why do they get normal saline? Because that's, native to their body. So
Right.
connecting those two thoughts for most people makes it much easier.
Thank you.
Then there's
Great way
the
to look at it.
explanation. Then there's the explanation of what is redox,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
exactly. Now,
Nelda?
So I basically trusted my source, and then the fact that I got results rather quickly, that was pretty evident to me that it worked. And then the fact that I shared it with my brother when he had slipped off of his chair in his bedroom, and he had a really bad skin, I would call it, skin tear. And then when I saw Renew 28 gel, when he applied it twice a day, and then a week later when I saw the results, as nurses, we don't see it that quickly. He was 80 years old at the time. And when I saw the repair that it did in a week, I was just kind of taken back. And that's when I started him on the product. But basically, that's what it was. Trusted your source, and then we received the results. My brother did, and I received the results. So that right there will convict you on the deepest level. And that was early on. And so that's why I really stayed on it and started sharing it too.
That's great. I have a couple of new people that might be on tonight, and one of them is an X-ray tech, and it was her first time to drink it. So she was a little bit wondering, which I gave her an answer and kind of backed it with something I've read from Dr. Ward, but she talked about it tasting like chlorine is what her mind was thinking, even though we know it's chloride. So maybe y'all could just one of the panel, or even Maureen or Lee, address that the confusion people have. I mean, it fits right in line with what y'all were just talking about it. Again, it is sodium chloride, even though somebody confuses it in their mind, they think it's chlorine.
They think it's pool water.
Yeah. So throw out, I sent her the Taste of Asea information that I've read to reassure her, that she has toxins and she needs to get back into balance. It might take her a couple weeks. She might need to use a straw, or she might need to drink a pouch. So just kind of throw out what y'all say when you talk about that.
And yeah.
Hey, I'm
Amy?
happy to start it off, and then we'll get the scientists on here to explain it. But it is chloride ions. I know initially when my husband and I first got on the product, he had a huge health challenge. I'm fluffy, but other than that, have no real health problems. So, it didn't taste like much of anything to me. But my husband, oh my gosh, he was practically rolling around on the floor, groaning about it. It was like, Put on your big boy pants. This is ridiculous. And, it tasted putrid to him. And I mean, he just really suffered. And he had been.
And what does your husband do, real quick? I just want to get clarity on this.
He's a pediatric anesthesiologist and a stem cell researcher. But,
I was wondering, okay.
Yeah.
And he
He
never had
learned that
anything
behavior
tasted
from
bad
his
before.
little patients, right?
Yes, he was acting like one of them. I mean, it was just terrible. We went to a conference, and honestly, I had to pour it for him every day, and he'd be like, "What's this?" And I was like, "It's the same stuff I gave you yesterday. Just drink it." And a lot of drama going on. But we went to a conference, and Alan Noble, of all people, Alan doesn't have a medical background, but he has a nutritional background, and he's one of the very first people to get involved with Asea. And he was talking from stage, and he was saying it's an interesting thing and a little bit of a hard sell, because the more the body needs it, the more out of balance it is, the worse it tastes. And my husband just looked at me and he was like, "See?" And he felt totally vindicated. And, from then on, he was good as gold. And now he drinks 8 to 16 ounces a day, every day. We drink, if you have somebody who really, the smell or the taste bothers them, the sports pouch is fantastic. And he just kind of downs it, and, he's good to go. It doesn't taste bad to him anymore. So you got to let the body kind of catch up, the physiology rebalance, and then hopefully it's not going to taste as bad. So
And that could be for some few days, for others a week. I don't know how long he took to where it got to a normal. It
seemed like forever, but it was probably just a couple of weeks. But I have had people who I've had to back them off of it, actually just spritz it under their tongue, or let them, hold it in their mouth. Here's a little trick. The secret will be out with everybody listening. But, if you have them hold it in their mouth and swish it around, they can spit it out. And just don't tell them that there's no, taste buds in their stomach. They're all in their mouth, right? But somehow that makes them feel better, that they're not swallowing it if they don't think it tastes good to them.
And now, how long should they hold it in their mouth, real quick? Not for a second, 30 seconds.
30, good 30 seconds. I have everybody do it for 30 seconds, 30, 60 seconds if they're going to spit it out, because they want to get the absorption through the mucosa. So
that's great. That's great.
Now, can some of the nurses explain why some people may actually have a little bit more than that? They may actually get an upset tummy. They might get a headache. They might have some other things as the body is doing, what do you like to call it, Maureen, or Lee, a cleansing or getting back to normal or homeostasis?
Balancing.
Okay. Have you had anybody that had any negative feelings in the beginning, Nelda? Nelda?
No, I have had one, only because, I was instructed to have him take a little bit extra. And so he had a lot of trembling. And so he's an older gentleman. And so I really should have started him with a lower dose, because his body needed a lot of rebalancing. And so it's best to start off slow, 1 ounce in the morning, 1 ounce at night, or like Maureen said, maybe just a spritz in the mouth, and slowly introduce it to the body. And then, of course, we have to drink half of our body weight in ounces of water to rebalance the body. And then every 2 days, you may want to increase it from 1 to 2 ounces. Every 2 days, increase it a little bit and see how the body tolerates it. If you're getting some of that uncomfortable feeling, so then the rebalancing is a little more difficult, just back off and start, with a little bit less. And that's what I feel seems to work. And that's really the best in everybody. There's no reason to start off quickly. Start off slow and let the body start rebalancing.
And Amy, can you maybe respond to native versus natural, and that it cannot do any harm? We're just putting more of us right back into us. How do you go through that? How do you explain that?
Well, the way I explain it to the lay person that doesn't have a medical background, when they don't understand what native to the body means. So the analogy that I give is blood. Blood is native to your body, right? We all have blood. We can't live without it, right? The problem is when we have low blood, we go in and we get a blood transfusion, and there's a risk involved in that, as we all know, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. But one thing I wanted to mention too, talking about detox, when I first started taking Asea, because I was so ill, I called David. I guess it was probably about 4 or 5 days after I had the worst burning in my chest, that I was crying, and I called David and I said, "What in the world is this stuff?" And he goes, "Don't stop taking Asea." He goes, "If you have to take, Mylanta or Tums or something, but just don't stop taking Asea." So I've had that with a couple people where they get worse before they get better. And I tell them my story because it's reassuring to them. Mm-hmm. And the other interesting thing is when I first started, it was very pungent. It tasted like pool water with 10 times the, chlorine in it, But what's really interesting now, it tastes just like water. But what's really interesting is whenever I'm under the weather, we do get under the weather, and, I've got a cough or I got a cold or whatever, it tastes bad again because my body needs it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of interesting that way.
Even a bad diet. I notice if I overindulge in something, the next day it'll be like, oh, that
Exactly, Maureen.
Yeah, I had to address this with a gal that for the last 2 weeks, and she's all fine with detox because detox is good for you. You can get that from sunshine, you can get it from exercise. So it's not a bad thing. And she just kind of wanted reassured that that's what it is. She had the raised skin, the bumps on her skin. And then this week it's the topsy-turvy moods. And so she had to rationalize that with her husband. Like, why is she having this? And so I talked her through it and slow it up. Malmed has a great video on starting off somebody that really needs it, 1 and then 2. And like Maureen said, with the way you were describing it, spitting it out. Some people need to slow it up until they can get to 8 ounce or more that they truly need it. So she was cool with, okay, if this is the rebalancing, I'll push through it. And so, there are some people that you just have to reassure them that, this is native, it's safe. You just have to give it some time.
Suzanne, I don't know if we've done this yet. They all seem to come. But Suzanne, can you explain to someone that doesn't know what this, because a lot of people are watching this that may not even know what we're talking about yet. Could you explain what these molecules are and why they're so vital for life?
Well, I explain it that, these are molecules that are in our body from conception. Because everybody knows about the birds and the bees, right? And so you have this egg and you have all these little tadpoles and they all want to get in there, right? And so how do they get in there? That egg opens up and just one jumps in there and then it slams shut, right? So how does it know to do that? Through signaling molecules, right? So that's the beginning of how redox gets started in our body. And we want duplication of healthy cells. So that happens one time and then it happens again and it happens again and it happens again. And those molecules produce healthy cells. And that's also called mitosis. But that's the beginning of redox molecules. And when those molecules are healthy, then they produce other ones. But their main job is to run around finding unhealthy cells so that we can get rid of those cells and to duplicate the healthy cells.
That's
so
awesome.
Where's the problem? I mean, are they going down? I mean, is what causes them to go down? And do younger people have more of these? But yet I hear younger people are having health issues.
That's right. And those are caused by stress and by the environment, the food we eat. Right.
Yeah.
And we make enough of them until we're in puberty, and then our bodies aren't able to keep up. So what the redox molecules are in the blue bottle are a mechanism to keep replenishing our body with those molecules so that we can stay healthy, and so that there's enough of those molecules to rid our body of unhealthy cells.
And I guess the big question then, how long does that take? I mean, it's not going to happen that quick, right? Lee, I don't know if maybe that's something you want to tackle, because some people get on this. Like when I've had 10 back surgeries, I was addicted to pain pills. When I took my pill, within a period of time, my discomfort went away. But you know what? It always came back. But Lee, explain that. Why do people need to stay on this for the rest of their life?
There's a big difference between the whole concept of cellular health and what we commonly think of as health or health care that is more through medical intervention. And drugs, which is our paradigm, this is our expectation, our worldview, is we take a drug to a medication to fix a problem. With your discomfort, you would take a drug, and the medication is seeking a receptor site on a cell to block it so that it will stop the transmission of a nerve signal that you might interpret as not friendly to you. Well, so taking that, that's like I always tell people that, does the aspirin cure a headache? It makes the discomfort go away for a little while, but it didn't take care of what's causing, the origin of why you have that problem in the first place. And so the difference between a medical intervention and something that we will call redox prevention is that we're getting a little upstream. We're getting very upstream in the root cause area, and we're dealing with the root cause. And if you decide to withdraw the cellular support that's helping you fix that root cause, which is really the redox kind of lifestyle type thing, if you took that away, you're going to go right back to where you were also with that cellular dysfunction. And so, it's like nutrition. If good nutrition helps you be stronger and healthier, can you just say, well, I did that for a month, and I can't really tell a big difference, so I'm going to go back to eating potato chips and Twinkies again and soda pop. Well, obviously most of us are aware that that's kind of a silly argument to make, but it's the same concept. If I'm taking drugs to solve my problems through medical intervention, it hasn't resolved the root cause problem, and so I do need to stay on these. We actually have a gene study that was done that took healthy 35-year-old people. These were healthy. These didn't have ostensible redox deficit issues going on, and they gave them 8 ounces of this a day for 8 weeks, and did blood work through all this, and found out in the gene study that it activated or upregulated the pathway gene expression for 5 separate gene pathways between 20 and 31%. And then they withdrew it, and 8 weeks later they repeated it and found that they had all reverted to their baseline numbers. And so we've got the empirical or the science evidence to document the fact that it's important to do this. This would be like saying, well, I'm going to exercise and run and eat right and do stress reduction, improve my sleep, and I'm going to do that for 2 months, and then I'm not going to do it again. And right. Having the logical thought of, I'm good for the rest of my life now because I did it for a month or two, or that it didn't work like I expected it to because it takes time for this to happen. And so it's just not it's a different paradigm. It's a different construct in terms of the model that, and we have to explain that to people. That's part of the redox education.
Well, and even with exercise, the muscles have to get stronger. You have to give it some time. There's no way you're going to see the results of whatever particular one you like to do until you do it in time. And that's where discipline and consistency comes in, where it works. Same with nutrition. If you did get used to the chips and the Twinkies in time, that you're going to definitely see some changes, not good ones, in your numbers. So it too has to be a regular thing. I do it so I don't feel like, I'm almost, in a week I'll be 57. So I don't want to get what loomed my mother's body at 68. Won't mention the particular. We didn't know about redox. She died at 78. So she suffered for 11 years. So I'm not going to wait and feel bad at that age. I'm going to keep doing it so I have the most optimal health. Like Doria said, live to at least 100. So,
well, here's the concept. Here's the concept there, and that is, I was just reading an article today on that. They use the word preconditioned. And so when you're doing these things that support cellular health, you're preconditioning the cell. I call it redox conditioning, but you're preconditioning the cell such that when a high stress thing comes your way, whether that's a disease or whatever the stress is, because you're already preconditioned, you have the ability to weather the storm. You have stress adaptation. You have a stress response adaptation that allows you to do better. And that's the science way of explaining what you just said.
And I'd like to add something regarding what, Dr. Osler just said, but, Redox Matters, Dr. Lee Osler's first book, it was great. And connecting the dots, between redox biology and health. But then now to come out with Healthy Matters, it's going to help introduce redox and nutrition. And that's taking our health to another level. I mean, honestly, think about that. I mean, Dr. Osler, thank you for bringing Healthy Matters and Redox Matters to the market, because that's changing lives right there. And then to me, it's a healthier lifestyle from our life stressors. We're stressed every day, and what we eat, we drink, we breathe, all of that. And so to me, we want homeostasis. We want balance in our body through diet, exercise, redox, and nutrition. We've got to have it to have optimal functioning in our body. And if we don't have it, we're at a loss. So we have to start somewhere. To me, Anne Louise Gittleman, she's the pioneer of nutrition. She said it best when she said, in her 40 years, she's never seen, this is the best she's seen for health and wellness. We really need to think about that, and we're on the right track. So to me, we are seeing, you guys were saying, what have you seen in nursing and all of your years of being on redox and having your patients be on redox? Well, it's patients and family and friends and loved ones in the Asea family. I'm seeing like my brother's kidney function. First of all, the A1C, his blood sugars, A1C went from like an 8.2 to a 6.2. His kidney function improved. His physician said, we don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it, because both of those keep improving. Your kidney function continues to improve. They didn't ask him, what are you doing? They just said, keep doing it, because, they really don't want to know. So he started ambulation. That helped. Not only my friend, but my brother. So I saw that. A gentleman right now that, we started him on, he had bad cells. And so his family said, hey, let's start him on this. We want to see what the redox molecules will do. His markers were very high. They were at 700. So after a few months, he went back into his oncologist, and they said, your markers are now at 17, and that is miraculous. So those are things that we're seeing. A friend of mine called and said, hey, my husband he can't work. He's got a discomfort between his shoulders. It's palpable. And I said, they couldn't see the doctor Friday. I said, be sure and follow up with your physician as you were told. But start applying our gel, the Renew 28. Apply it liberally and take as much redox as you can. He continued doing that, and he had phenomenal results. And then he's like, I'm ready to go back to work. And he did not have that palpable area. But you always have to return back to your physician, get that assessed. But to me, those were fabulous things, and plus everything that we've been saying about what it did for us, in turn. These molecules work. All you have to do is, place them in your body and be consistent with them. The same thing with the gel. The gel works from the outside in, our Renew 28, and the drink works from the inside out. So I just say, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by taking these molecules. It's worth it.
Exactly.
We have a category creator, and I'm an ex-stockbroker. I did financial advising for 30 years. And, we would always hear that if it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. How do you guys deal with that? That you got to admit, when I first heard about this, I thought it sounded crazy. It sounded like snake oil, really something that you drink and apply, and it makes everything alive get better. You got it. That sounds crazy. Now, y'all have been in the business for a long time. How did you deal with that? And then real quick, we've only got a couple of minutes left. How big of a deal is this? Have you ever seen did you ever think in your lives that you would see something like this? No, or Doria?
Yes, I'm going to say in my years of nursing, when I think about healthcare as a whole, patients are sicker now than they ever have been. I can say our technology is good. So just like Suzanne's husband had heart surgery, our diagnostic tools are excellent and, and helpful and, figuring out what's going on with people. But as far as healthcare in reference to different health conditions, people are sicker. And so like when you were asking about, is this too good to be true? Yes, it does sound like that. But I just tell people, go ahead and experience it, and see for themselves what it's going to do for them, because it is a breakthrough, it is a discovery, and like I said, I know it's God sent, and I just, it's a miracle for a lot of people.
Jim,
Suzanne? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like we said a while ago, a lot of people take a lot of medications and they are taking them for the masking the symptoms only. That's all that's doing. We go to the root of the problem. And, we are all the messengers. As nurses, we are messengers. We're advocates. So we know, we've seen, and a lot of people have experienced what these medications that have toxins do to the body. And so when we see that, and then we see something that comes in to the market that's non-toxic, native to the body, and it works, you cannot help but share this with anyone that you come in contact with or reach out to. And it's not for everyone. And I tell people this, it may not be for you, but it may be for your mom, dad, brother, sister, coworker, best friend, neighbor. You have no idea. So I would not say no to something you don't know what you're saying no to. Listen, let's make an informed decision. And then, try the molecules. To me, if I don't try it, when I was growing up, I may not have wanted to eat vegetables, but I knew they were good for me, so I did it. So to me, with the molecule, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yeah. Thank you. Suzanne?
Well, like I said earlier, it's so much easier to share now because there is so much evidence. Nelda, I use the picture of your brother every single day. Every day that I share Asea, I use that picture. Because again, it's just evidence. I had the opportunity to visit with someone in a hospital here in Houston this week, and I took them 10 pouches of Asea, and this woman had endured the pandemic that's been going on. She had been in rehab for 5 weeks and was extremely ill. And so she let me come visit her, and I had known her like 25 years ago and found out from a friend that she was there in that hospital, and she was on 5 liters of oxygen and breathing treatments, and just a very frail little lady. So she started drinking a pouch a day and using the Renew as much as she could reach, as she was telling me today. But they're making plans for her to go home next week. They're discharging her next week. And so, again, when you see the miracles day after day, by just being confident in the technology, because the more you do it, the more confident you become. And the more miracles you get the joy of seeing. So it's very difficult it's very difficult for me not to share this with people. Because the evidence is so apparent.
Right.
It's so apparent.
Like someone said, the evidence demands a verdict. What is that? I can't see it, Maureen.
Besides my terrible phone, which I've dropped too many times, I was trying to show Nelda's picture. Nelda, can you show that for everybody?
Can you?
Because I don't think they can see it on here.
Honestly,
I can't see it.
I don't know if you can see it on my phone, but I'll try.
Well, it does give a glare. Can you push
email it to me real quick?
on United?
Sure,
I'm
but
not sure we'll get it quick enough right now.
So while we're trying that, Amy, wrap us up.
How big is it?
How big is this? Snake oil or not?
Well, here's the thing. how many of us have signed up new people and they're doubtful, they're skeptical, they want to see studies, and I'm like, well, when you buy a box of cake mix, do you look to see, all the ingredients? You just want to make daggone cake, right? So, but one thing I tell people once they see that their body is changing, you can't go about it in a convincing way, but when you speak with conviction, like after, my experience 11 years ago, there was nobody that was going to tell me no. Nobody. So, when you speak with conviction and you share your story, that's what helps me to kind of reel people in, if you will.
Jim,
Excellent.
Yes.
I emailed you the picture. Do you mind placing that picture on the screen? It's really important.
Yeah. I did open the chat just now, guys. We are going to shut down here in a second. Let me see if I can find it. Hadn't come in yet, Nelda.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes internet can bypass it.
Well, I was just going to tell you a quick story. So, I shared it with my brother because I knew my niece called and they showed me a picture of the very first picture that I'm sending you. And so, I was working in the area. So I went by at 6 o'clock in the morning and I thought, I'll just pop that Renew 28 in his mailbox. And I said, have him apply it twice a day. So a week later, I check up on him and I just went over there and I said, let me see your skin tear. And he waved me off and he said, it's already healed. It's already repaired. And so basically I said, okay, now you know how wonderful that gel is. Now I want you to start our molecules. And he said, Nelda, I'm 80 years old and I have tried everything you can imagine. And I've spent a lot of money on all of that. And I said, what if? So I said, I want you to take these molecules. And so I poured him out 4 ounces that night. And we were talking right there in his kitchen. And being my brother, I thought, you know what? He has lost hope. So I gave him 2 more ounces because he used to get up and fix his breakfast, walk around, ambulate. And then he was getting to the point he didn't want to do that anymore. He'd lost hope. So he started taking the molecules. But he said, Nelda, I am 80 years old and you are trying to revive a dead man.
Yeah.
When he told me that, being his sister, I was just taken back. But I said, no, whatever, time our Creator has given you, I want you to have quality of life. So he was having trouble getting up with the walker and a cane. I mean, very unsteady gait. It was scary to watch him do that. So he started drinking it. And I said, whatever the physician has told you to monitor, keep monitoring. If it's your pressures, do that. If it's your sugars, do that. He was very, diligent about that. So a week later, after taking 4 ounces in the morning and 4 at night, I go the next week. And I said, would you please show me how you get up from your chair and go to your bedroom door? He got up without using the armrest and walked across the room where he was struggling before. And he turned around midway and he said, Nelda, if you hadn't come by, I would not know what this product is doing for me, what this bottle of hope. So he had hope and things just got better and better. The next week I check on him and I said, what did you do today? And he said, well, I drove to the post office and I ran my errands. And I was like, oh my goodness. And he said, oh, and I didn't take my walking cane. It's right there. And I thought, as a nurse, I would at least want you to take your cane. But no, so things just got better and better. And that's when he went back 3 months, it was a checkup and his sugars were better and his kidney function was better. After 6 months, the physicians, that's when they said, your kidney function continues to improve. We don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. So that's what convicted me. And for those reasons, I share Redox every single day. And like I said, it may not be for everyone at that moment, but they will come back and they're watching us and they're seeing the changes in us and in everyone around us, and they will come back. And so to me, don't worry, share, but remember what our founder said. If someone doesn't want to listen at that time, it may not be the right time for them. Leave them alone and just move on.
Well, Nelda, thank you guys. The
email.
Yeah, I never got the email.
Jim, did you get it? Did you get the email?
No. Can you?
Can y'all see that?
Somehow
I
it's
see it
not
now.
loading. Correct.
Yeah. Do you have my email, Suzanne?
She said did you send it to him too?
I'm not getting the email, but guys,
Posted on Redox Matters.
Yes.
With
Yeah.
everything
Definitely put it in
Okay.
United and of course Redox Matters. So.
yeah. It's just not showing up now.
Better?
Oh, there you go.
That's a little bit.
That's a little bit better.
There
So
you go.
The bottom
Yeah.
one, the bottom one is the first
Yeah.
week. 7 days later is the top one. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Wow.
can definitely see the bottom
Amazing.
one.
You know,
difference.
Guys, we have a gift.
So awesome. Send it
Yeah.
by
You know,
text. Send it to me by text.
Okay.
because we have a new technology, and I don't mean to be rude, but there's a lot of negative, what I call poo-poo heads, that no matter what you say, they're just not going to believe. And that's okay. And I believe one day they will when they see the changes in us. But guys, I want to thank you ladies
Yeah, it was
so much. This is one of our favorite nights when we have Nurses Night Out. We're going to be back next week. We've got Leland Duck. If you've never heard this man's story, you don't want to miss it. And he was a physician's assistant. He's been an extremely successful businessman. But you want to hear his testimonial, bring some Kleenexes just in case.
Yeah.
But guys, we want to thank you so much. And all of the recordings are now on Dr. Osler's site, which is called redoxmatters.com. And we are going to have Dr. Osler as our guest in a couple of weeks, right before convention, where he's going to be announcing his amazing gift back to us as the humanity of what he is bringing to us. So guys, thank you so much for joining. We're going to stick around for a little bit. I'm going to pause the recording and get off of Facebook. So say goodbye, everybody.
Good weekend. Thank you.